What's up, everybody? Welcome to You Just Freestyled. Today we have a guest. This is John, artist known as Supernova, longtime friend, great person, great overall human. You know what I mean? I guess, bro, I wanted the concept of the show to kind of just be like how we go about fleshing out ideas that come to us.
Okay.
And we're definitely going to talk about music, but I also want to know, like, what goes through your mind when you write a script, or like when you're coming up with the idea or the concept for one even.
A lot of my ideas for some of the scripts I've written come from like a dream or a daydream. Sometimes I'll just like have a weird image, and then I'll build from that image a story, and then from that story I'll just completely just build, and then I'll end up with, okay, I like this, and now I want to flesh it out more. All right, let's develop this character. Let's develop the setting, and then from there I'm like, okay, now I'm here, I'm going. So it's a lot of, it really starts with an image in my head. I see something, and I'm like, oh, I would love to see this played out. And yeah, it starts with an image.
Yeah, no, that's dope. That's like a point, and once again, like I don't know. I always tell people like to self-study because I don't know if necessarily everything I'm saying is true, but I feel like a lot of times in freestyle, the image or like the feeling of which leads to the image is what you end up basing or building the freestyle off of. Do you like remember? Do you remember when you started building like that? Have you always been inspired by images, just kind of in your all of your art?
Let me think. I would say so. I think I was the first time I remember writing a script. I was in high school. I was Macintosh, and
Macintosh.
yeah, and we had my mother said I've been writing since I was a kid, but I don't really remember that. But I remember when we had a food fight one year, that senior year, and I got in-school suspension, and like they put me in like the in-school suspension room has no windows, so you're just like in this cubicle, and it's a lot of graffiti and stuff. And we were seniors, so we had no schoolwork, none of that stuff. So I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do in here for 3 days? I had in-school suspension for 3 days, and I had this journal, and I was like, man. And for some reason, I was like, I'll write a story or something like that. And I've always been a fan of horror films because I was scared of them as a kid, and so I kind of grew an affinity for them because I was scared of them. And I had this image of a caught on camera trailer where this family was camping, and then they heard something in the woods, and they were like, oh, that's weird. And it cuts to nighttime, and they're sleeping in the tent, and they hear something else in the woods. And then it would cut to them checking to see what it is, and then they hear something that's like monsters. And then I was like, and then I saw Sasquatch. And for some reason that made me want to write a Sasquatch story, so I spent the 3 days writing, like actually writing no front and back paper, the Sasquatch short film I wrote. It was like 14 pages. I was writing like crazy. So much so that the teacher walked up to me and was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm trying to write a movie, can you leave me alone? Like, I was trying, because I was like going nuts. And when I finished, I still have it too to this day, it's in my room. It was 14 pages front and back of a Sasquatch horror film. And it was just the first time that I just allowed my ideas and what I'm seeing in my head just to flow into the pen. And I loved it. I was like, okay, yeah, I love this. But I never realized that it was a passion of mine until college. It was interesting.
I want to come back to where you found it in college. So when you're creating now, do you ever find yourself being able to go back to or remembering that moment of just like the ideas flowing from you whenever, like if you possibly feel stuck, if you have a moment where like you're wanting to flesh out an idea, do you find that space still?
100%. I know, like,
tell me about that, please.
Sometimes the best thing to do is to like take time. Like a lot of times we want to get our ideas out immediately, but when you feel like, oh, there's a block here, I can't get it out. All right, cool. I'll just take time, and when it hits me, it'll hit me. So when in college, my major originally was astrophysics. I wanted to be an astrobiologist, but I don't love math. In science, in that type of math, that type of science, you need to know math. There's astronomical numbers and stuff like that, and I was just not, like, I like the idea of being an astrophysicist, but I love film. So I was like, I'll take these film electives just to, boost my GPA because these science classes I'm not doing too well in. And I would be like super early to my film classes, and I would be really late to my science classes. And that's like a telltale sign for me because I'm always late.
Yeah.
So for me to be early to these film classes, I was like, oh, I really must care about this subject matter. And I took the first film class I took was Intro to Screenwriting. And I was like, why does this feel so familiar? And I was like, oh, in high school, when I was in school suspension, I was doing this. I was writing.
Right.
Oh, I was writing scripts. I didn't even know that's what I was doing. I was just doing it because it felt natural to me. And I was like, okay, this is something that I'm passionate about. Because I think a lot of times things we're really good at, we do it so naturally that we don't realize it's a talent of ours. Like, someone will be like, hey man, you're really good at basketball. You're like, I'm just playing. But you're like, no, you're actually like really good. You just crossed up the entire team. Like, no, I'm just playing. Like, no, you're. A lot of times we don't realize or recognize that, I'm super talented at something until it's like past. You know what I mean? So that was me recognizing in college, like, oh, I actually have a passion for writing. It's not like a chore to me.
Right.
And I actually find it kind of therapeutic too as well. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm switching my major to film, and I'll deal with the backlash of my parents. I'm gonna just do this because I love this, and I know if I keep doing it, I'll end up where I want to be and be happy. So that's what I always call life. So it's like, I love it. You know what I mean? And so I don't rush it. I know it's there, so I'll get to it if I need to, and if I can't get to it right now, I'll come back to it later.
Bro, that's a lesson. I feel like personally, I'm always like, I wanna get this out right now, and then I'll be like, no, it's not coming, and then I'll like, you might like spiral or something. Like, I'll be getting better at that. Where I'll just like, all right, I'm gonna go work on something else, and then I'll just see if it comes back. And if it's like a year later, like, okay, like, I just had some songs that I just started working on, and I was like, I've had these beats for like 2 years now, and then I'm like, suddenly like all of yesterday, I'm just like getting all these ideas for them. So I totally resonate with that.
Yes.
I think that's perfect. There was a question there that I had of something that you just said. Oh, do you find like when you're writing scripts or even music, do you find like you're speaking yourself back to yourself, like you're kind of figuring out or processing things that you may not have?
100%.
Yeah. What does that feel like for
it's
you?
Surreal. It's like I'm talking to me, but I'm also talking to a different, like Marvel, a variant of me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, wow, I see what you were thinking there. It's really interesting. But it's also like, sometimes, especially with music, I might like say something, a bar, and then I listen back to it, why did I say that? And I keep listening. I'm like, oh, because I wanted to structure the flow of the song this way, and now I was thinking 10 steps ahead, and now I just cut up to that. So yeah, 100%. It's a very surreal thing, but it's a part of the creative process. Sometimes you're going to do things in making music or writing where you're thinking ahead for yourself. So right now it might not make sense for you to make this decision, but when you get to the editing part or you go back to listen to the verse, you're like, oh, okay, I get why I said it this way. Okay, let me change this. You know what I mean? It's like you're preemptively helping yourself, it's surreal. It's definitely surreal. So.
No, that is crazy. Like, I've had moments like that where I'm like, why did I write this bar? And then it makes sense later. But I've never thought about it like that. Like, literally setting yourself up to win. In terms of making music, because I know you produce as well as raps, makes it, I feel
All
like
this
you
stuff.
engineer a bit too. Like, do you,
Yeah.
Bro, what is that process like? Does that also, I know I kind of asked that earlier, but does that also start from an image? Like the,
Music?
like do you start with the instrumental a lot of times, or is it sometimes the lyrics inspire the instrumental, or the instrumental inspires the lyrics?
I really admire people who can write a song and then make the music from it, because music-wise, I have to make the music first, and then I can write to it. Like a lot of the projects I make, because I'm a writer at my core, I need to structure the music to where it's intro, first scene, outro, end scene. And then once I make the music, I can then write easily to it. So for me, it's always music first. And then when it comes to music, whenever I play something and I feel it, okay, then I can build off it. From there, I just build. So it's weird. With music, it's a feeling thing. And then with film or scripts, I have to see it. And I see it, I'm like, okay, I can I saw this commercial. It's like it's a Nissan commercial, and it's just an animation of a woman driving down a highway, and the distance is like a huge robot, like it's like a futuristic commercial, and that image inspired me to write a movie about like a post-apocalyptic world. Just that image alone, I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, what if I expanded this world, and what would that look like? So, yeah, it's kind of weird how the two worlds I am like inspired differently, but no.
So that brings me an interesting question. When you do a music video, where do you start from expanding that world? Like, is it from the music, or is it from the video, or is it like kind of like they're all feeding into what becomes the overall?
Yeah, I would say it's a music video, like.
Because it also does his own music video.
I used the different words apparently. The frequency is stored in intent, not actually in the, tent of. So I had to build a different one. They said I probably should not store this, but if the smoke is rising out of the catacomb of the, catacomb that I've set up, isn't that a square, the corner of my world that I should check when I am getting back near? They said, nah, not here. The blocks are, appearing, but not the R of revolution. They don't roll, they're more of the substitution of the grid system. We like those with the diamond point. If you could anoint us with a better, understanding of those that be a joint, like a, shoulder and a, arm muscle, kneecap, bone cap, the thing that they talk about, the polar cap. I guess that'd be the polar opposite of that, but I didn't lay it. When it was a layer, I tried to layer it and figure out if it was the Bat Cave. I'm afraid the Alfredo wasn't served by Alfred that day, but it wasn't even Fred Flintstones, so they probably should have read. We had those two, and you probably shouldn't bet. That's Barney. Why would you even want to put me in this barn if I didn't want the straw? I was looking for that kicking out the mat. All didn't want to break the camel's back, so I said I would leave. They didn't want to laugh, so I read myself into a what's that, a lackadaisical, feeling like I'm praising myself as appraisal. Though I'm not rolling off the ladder, being devalued by the fact that I roll around you. So I guess my gravitational is cool field feels kinda real, that's real. And I'm chilling with Ted, you know. We're not generic, I guess I know. But what's good with ghosts? Going here like gas to ghost. Nah, that'd be Adult Swim. Had to get out the water with them. Stuck to me though, like the idea of. Never got lost in the idea of hugs or the dove. Branch was nice, but not on that like a Nordic night. That would be Thor, no hammer in sight. Thunder and lightning, I might add. My bad. Didn't get mad. Ooh, which I.
Yes, C word.
This is gonna wind up